Recent derailment of an AMTRAK train near the U.S. city of Philadelphia has reignited a conversation about rail infrastructure spending in America. Compared to its global peers, the U.S. spends very little on it. While investigators are still trying to find out the cause of the derailment, some politicians say more investment is needed to make rail travel safer.
Hours after an AMTRAK train derailed near Philadelphia and killed 8 people, the U.S. Congress voted to cut funding for the government-operated rail system. Republicans largely led the charge against increased funding. Some politicians, mainly Democrats, decried the decision.
While we don't know what the causes were of last night's accident, we do know that investing in our infrastructure is critically important each and every day.
The train was traveling at twice the speed limit as it entered a curve. Technology called positive train control that can automatically slow a train down wasn't installed on the ill-fated train's tracks. Congress mandated that the technology be implemented on all rails by the end of 2015. But AMTRAK says it can't meet that deadline, partially due to lack of funding.
This requires setting up a lot of antennas. This requires retrofitting engines. All this is very expensive.
Tom Zollner, author of Train, Riding the Rails That Created the Modern World, says AMTRAK's hands are tied.
Having to go to Congress every year to beg for a budget that only goes so far, it's impossible to provide high quality, efficient, completely safe railroading in the United States.
The U.S. spends about $1.5 billion a year on AMTRAK, which is the main passenger rail service in the United States. That amount is very small compared to what other countries spend on their rail service.
Among 14 nations, the U.S. ranks second to last in terms of spending relative to GDP. The biggest spender is China, which invests more than 12 times the amount the U.S. does. Zollner says funding is relatively low because infrastructure spending doesn't play well politically.
Infrastructure is unglamorous. No one really campaigns on that platform. And no one really likes being the politician to go out there and say, hey, let's raise taxes. You know, let's pay for things that you're not even going to recognize, that you're not even going to necessarily be aware of.
But with tragedies like the Philadelphia derailment, Americans are becoming more aware of their ailing infrastructure, which the American Society of Civil Engineers gives a D+ rating. A D is the lowest grade you can get in the U.S., short of failing.